I can actually be vulnerable with this many people is to never name names.
The room fell silent for a split second, and then all hell broke loose. No one was prepared for Taylor Swift's brutal clapback that left Karoline Leavitt completely shattered in front of a roaring crowd. What started as a calm exchange turned into one of the most unforgettable takedowns we've seen in a long time. What did Taylor say that silenced the room and changed everything in an instant? Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. The Great American Debate. According to what's been spreading across social media, these two powerful women reportedly squared off in what was called the Great American Debate, supposedly a major live TV event that became the main character of everyone's timeline. And the claims are wild. People are saying Taylor absolutely cooked Karoline with a savage clapback that had the entire audience going absolutely feral. But did it actually happen? That's what we're about to find out, no cap. Before we get into the drama, let me introduce our main characters for anyone who's been living under a rock or like touching grass. Karoline Leavitt isn't just serving looks in the White House briefing room. She's serving as the White House press secretary after being appointed by former President Donald Trump following his 2024 comeback era. At just 27, she's the youngest person ever to snatch this position, which is honestly kind of iconic. Before this main character moment, she was communications director for New York Representative Elise Stefanik and even tried to girl boss her way into Congress in 2022, but that campaign didn't hit. In the other corner, we have the Queen herself, Taylor Swift, global superstar, billionaire businesswoman, and increasingly vocal political figure. Swifties know she's been more politically active in recent years, most notably when she endorsed Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election, a moment that broke the internet and was covered everywhere from the New York Times to The Guardian. She's really been in her political era lately, and her fans have been eating it up. Now for the juicy part. According to reports from a site called Daily Positive 24, the Great American Debate was supposedly giving main character energy with a spectacular setting, vibrant lights, and the perfect vibe for what they called a clash between liberal emotion and conservative reasoning. The debate reportedly covered all the spicy topics: women's rights, misinformation, climate change, and broader societal issues. It was allegedly the Coachella of political debates, and everyone's been talking about it non-stop. But here's where I need to keep it 100 with you. Is this event even real, or is it giving AI-generated fan fiction? Your girl has checked, and none of the major news networks, not CNN, not Fox, not any of the usual suspects, have coverage of this supposed debate between Leavitt and Swift. The only source spilling this tea is Daily Positive 24, which is Seuss and needs to be taken with a whole shaker of salt. No shade, but when the mainstream media isn't covering what would be the political celebrity crossover event of the year, something's not adding up. In fact, there's been a whole trend of fake news about Karoline Leavitt floating around. Just recently, in April 2025, Snopes.com and Mayon News had to debunk claims that Leavitt debated Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. Those videos were straight-up AI fakes, so we need to keep that in mind when we're considering whether this Swift-Leavitt moment is actually real or just the internet doing its thing. The receipts aren't exactly checking out here. Nevertheless, for the tea, let's explore what was supposedly said during this alleged debate. According to Daily Positive 24, Leavitt and Swift went head-to-head on several hot-button issues. When it came to women's rights, Leavitt reportedly pulled up with receipts about the Trump administration's achievements, including record-low women's unemployment and increased vocational training for single mothers. She even referenced Swift's album Fearless in her remarks, a classic case of using someone's own lyrics against them, which is honestly iconic behavior if it actually happened. Swift, meanwhile, allegedly took a more passionate approach, giving big "we need to speak up" energy, while emphasizing the importance of role models and calling out laws she viewed as violating women's rights. Her approach was described as emotionally resonant, but apparently she wasn't serving the same level of data and statistics that Leavitt brought to the table. It was giving heart versus head, vibes versus facts. The debate then supposedly got even spicier when they moved to the topic of misinformation, which is ironically what we might be dealing with about this whole event. Leavitt reportedly read Swift for filth, questioning her accuracy on certain issues and even citing a deleted social media post about environmental policy. She basically argued that influencers like Swift sometimes spread misinformation faster than a TikTok dance challenge, implying that with great celebrity comes great responsibility. Swift allegedly clapped back by criticizing political leaders for spreading falsehoods, highlighting the dangers of misinformation in today's digital landscape. She was giving speak truth to power realness, but according to the reports, her arguments weren't hitting as hard as Leavitt's data-driven approach. It was kind of like bringing vibes to a fact fight, which doesn't always slay. Climate change was another hot topic that supposedly had these two in their debate era. Swift reportedly was all about immediate action and called out the administration's environmental policies, very much giving "we need to save the planet now" energy. Leavitt, staying on brand, apparently came through with statistics about potential economic impacts of green energy transitions, including a claimed claimed 30% increase in electricity prices. And in what would be a legendary debate move if it actually happened, Leavitt even quoted Swift's anti-hero lyrics to make her point. That's honestly giving debate coach energy, and I can't even be mad at it. The final segment of the alleged debate centered on the broader impacts of pop culture versus policy. Swift supposedly talked about how pop culture can foster empathy and social cohesion, very much on brand for her music brings us together messaging. Meanwhile, Leavitt kept it practical, focusing on job creation, lowering prices, and enhancing security, basically saying vibes don't pay the bills. Throughout this supposed debate, Leavitt's approach was described as very facts and logic, dropping statistics like they were hot new singles. Swift, on the other hand, was portrayed as focusing more on emotional appeals and broader advocacy, but apparently serving fewer concrete examples. It was giving facts versus feelings, and according to these reports, facts were winning the day. But here's where the tea gets scalding. The viral claims circulating suggest that Swift destroyed Leavitt with a brutal clapback that had the crowd losing it. But according to the available reports, that's literally not what happened. In fact, the reports suggest Leavitt was widely regarded as eating Swift up in this debate, using humor and facts effectively, while Swift's performance was noted for passion, but criticized for lack of preparation. The audience apparently ate up Leavitt's performance, and conservative social media dubbed her the Swift Destroyer, which is the exact opposite of what the viral narrative claims. So let's check the actual receipts on Taylor Swift and how she handles conflict. Here's Swift in a 2022 interview, responding when asked if she regrets writing songs about her exes.
Have you ever regretted writing a song about one of your exes?
Never.
Never, ever, ever?
No, because you don't write a song about them unless you know that you don't really want to know them anymore.
That's giving unapologetic queen energy, no doubt, but it's not exactly a takedown of someone else, just Swift standing in her truth about her creative choices. She can also serve vulnerability and humor, as we see in this concert clip.
There is no special guest. You are stuck with me. It's only me. There's not a special guest. Or were you clapping for me?
These clips give us Taylor Swift being Taylor Swift, confident, sometimes vulnerable, occasionally funny, but they don't show her delivering any kind of brutal clapback against Karoline Leavitt. In fact, after this alleged debate, Swift reportedly made an Instagram post acknowledging the experience as a learning opportunity and promising continued advocacy. This wasn't giving "I destroyed my opponent" energy at all. It was more reflective, more growth mindset, which is actually very on brand for Swift. As we wrap up part 1 of this deep dive into the alleged Swift versus Leavitt moment, I need to keep it 100 with you all. The evidence simply doesn't support the viral narrative that Taylor Swift destroyed Karoline Leavitt with a brutal clapback that had the crowd losing it. The available information suggests that if this debate did happen, Leavitt might have actually been the one serving debate realness. Now we're going to get you to know Karoline Leavitt better, her background, her communication style, and what makes her such a formidable force in political discourse. We'll look at some of her actual press briefing moments to see how she handles pressure and tough questions. Karoline Leavitt, the rising star. As we spilled earlier, Karoline Leavitt became the youngest White House press secretary in history at just 27 years old. That's literally Gen Z running the White House press room, and we kind of have to stand the representation. Born on August 24, 1997, Leavitt has had a career trajectory that's been moving faster than burial notifications on a Saturday night. Before snatching her current role in 2025 after Trump's election win, she was communications director for Representative Elise Stefanik and briefly served in the Trump administration during his first term. This girl's resume is giving girl boss and unstoppable energy. Leavitt has quickly built a reputation as a press secretary who doesn't play. She's known for her direct communication style and unwavering defense of the administration's policies. Basically, she doesn't back down, and her haters stay pressed. To really understand her vibe, let's look at some of her actual moments in the press briefing room where she's been serving looks and verbal takedowns. In one particularly spicy press briefing, Leavitt showed exactly why she's not someone you want to debate unprepared. When a reporter came at her with a tough question about immigration, she didn't hesitate to clap back with facts.
Well, you'd have to ask the Department of Homeland Security for a specific number, but we suspect it's definitely in the millions, perhaps upwards of 20 million people that were allowed into the country illegally by the previous administration. And the president and his team are focused on deporting as many as we possibly can, and they are moving as quickly as possible.
She didn't stop there, continuing to lay out the administration's position with the confidence of someone who knows she's got got all the facts on lock.
President's team has made it clear we need more funding from Congress to do more. We need more ICE agents out on the ground doing this very important work. And we also need rogue district court judges to stop acting as judicial activists, trying to block the administration from deporting illegal criminals from our nation's interior.
This exchange is giving Major "I came prepared" energy. Leavitt didn't stumble, didn't stutter. She delivered her talking points with the precision of someone who's practiced in the mirror 100 times. This kind of confidence and command of her message would definitely serve her well in any debate setting, including the alleged showdown with Taylor Swift. But Leavitt's communication style isn't just about spitting facts. She's also low-key a master at controlling the narrative and the room. Check out this iconic moment where she demonstrated her ability to manage press interactions on her own terms.
Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me? No?
I have a question.
No. Anybody?
She added.
I'll see you all later. Does anyone have any questions for Patty or for me? No?
I have a question.
No.
That moment is giving "I'm in control here" realness. The way she asks if anyone has questions, barely waits for responses, and then bounces, that's a power move if I've ever seen one. It shows that Leavitt doesn't just respond to pressure, she dictates the terms of engagement. In a debate setting, this kind of control would be absolutely crucial. Leavitt has also proven herself to be ride or die when it comes to defending the administration against criticism. In a recent statement about Secretary Hegseth, she went all in on supporting her team, despite the controversy.
The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the Pentagon. And this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you and working against the monumental change that you are trying to implement. Secretary Hegseth was nominated for this position because he is standing up for the war fighter, the men and women in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country and our homeland. And unfortunately, there have been people at that building who don't like the change the secretary is trying to bring, so they are leaking and they are lying to the mainstream media. We've seen this game played before. The secretary is doing a tremendous job, and the president stands strongly behind him.
This full-throated defense is giving loyal bestie energy, and it showcases Leavitt's ability to craft a compelling narrative even when facing criticism. She doesn't just defend, she goes on offense, calling out leaking and lying to the media and framing the situation as resistance to positive change. In a debate, this skill of reframing the narrative would be incredibly valuable. These receipts show us that Leavitt is a communication. Powerhouse. She's comfortable with facts and figures, she controls the narrative, and she's fiercely loyal to her team, all qualities that would make her formidable in a debate setting. So if this alleged face-off with Swift did occur, it's not hard to see why Leavitt might have had the upper hand. According to the Daily Positive 24 report, Leavitt's alleged debate performance showcased several key strengths that apparently had her eating Swift up. First, she supposedly came with all the receipts, specific data points, and statistics to back up every claim she made. On women's rights, she highlighted the administration's wins with concrete examples. When discussing climate change, she brought specific economic concerns, including those electricity price increases. This facts over feelings approach was reportedly contrasted with Swift's more emotional but less specific arguments. Second, Leavitt allegedly served humor throughout the debate, even throwing Swift's own lyrics back at her to make her points, which, if true, would be an absolutely savage debate tactic. Using someone's own words against them establishes dominance while also showing you've done your homework. It's the debate equivalent of saying, "I know you better than you know yourself," and it's absolutely brutal when done right. Third, Leavitt's experience as press secretary dealing with hostile journalists every day supposedly gave her the edge in handling the high-pressure debate environment. Think about it. If you spend every day facing a room full of reporters trying to catch you slipping, a single debate opponent probably feels like a vacation. Her daily job involves fielding tough questions and crafting narratives that support the administration skills that would translate perfectly to a debate format. But perhaps most importantly, Leavitt reportedly kept laser-focused on practical policy implications throughout the alleged debate, while Swift was supposedly talking about broader themes of advocacy and empathy, which is very on-brand for her. Leavitt kept bringing the conversation back to concrete policy outcomes like jobs, prices, and security. These kitchen table issues apparently resonated more directly with the audience than Swift's more abstract appeals. But let's keep it clear. We need to remember that all of this information comes primarily from one source, Daily Positive 24, and hasn't been verified by mainstream media. Without broader coverage of this event, we should definitely be side-eyeing these reports. It's giving trust but verify, and so far the verification part is lacking. It's also suspected that there's been a pattern of fake news about Leavitt circulating online. As we mentioned earlier, fact-checkers recently debunked those AI-generated videos claiming to show a debate between Leavitt and Stephen Colbert. This context makes it even more important to question whether the reported Swift-Leavitt face-off actually happened. If the debate did go down as reported, the audience reaction supposedly favored Leavitt, with people living for her responses. Social media reactions were predictably divided along political lines, with conservative platforms crowning Leavitt the Swift destroyer and liberal outlets acknowledging Swift's courage while suggesting she came unprepared to a fact fight. The alleged debate has apparently sparked wider conversations about women in politics, the balance between emotional appeals and data-driven arguments, and where pop culture and policy intersect. These are all worthy discussions, regardless of whether this specific debate actually happened. But what about Taylor Swift? How does the queen of pop usually handle public drama, and does she have a history of delivering the kind of brutal clapback suggested by the viral narrative? Let's find out. Swift's public persona and reaction style, including how she responded to getting booed at the 2025 Super Bowl and other notable public moments. Taylor Swift, the reality check. Taylor Swift has been serving main character energy for over 15 years, evolving from country music's darling to a global pop icon and increasingly vocal political figure. As her fame has skyrocketed, so has her experience dealing with haters, criticism, and public scrutiny. But does Miss Swift actually have the reputation for delivering those devastating, brutal clapbacks that the viral narrative is claiming? Let's investigate the receipts. One of Swift's most recent high-profile moments came at the 2025 Super Bowl, where she was supporting her NFL boyfriend Travis Kelce. According to Billboard and People magazine, Swift got booed when she appeared on the Jumbotron during the game, likely by Philadelphia Eagles fans who weren't exactly thrilled to see the girlfriend of a Kansas City Chiefs player. So how did Swift respond to this public hate? With a devastating takedown? An epic clapback? Not exactly. Her response was described as a side eye, a slight wince, and a laugh. A lip reader reported by Yahoo Entertainment claimed that Swift simply said, "Aw, what's going on?" This is giving confused but unbothered energy, not the aggressive comeback suggested by narratives about her supposed confrontation with Leavitt. Body language expert Judy James, also cited in the Yahoo article, noted that Swift showed grim support for Kelce and rolled her eyes in disbelief. But again, this was a relatively mild reaction. It was giving water off a duck's back vibes, not "I'm about to end this man's whole career" energy. Another example of Swift's public demeanor comes from her iconic Eras Tour. During her London show on June 23, 2024, Swift received a standing ovation after performing Champagne Problems. According to Newsweek, she responded with pure gratitude. "What you just did is an unforgettable moment in not just my life, but every one of my band members, every single one of our crew, my band who's going to be playing live for you for 3.5 hours tonight. They deserve this so much, and so does every one of my fellow performers. And you just gave that to us so generously, we will never forget it." This response, while possibly seen as an indirect comeback to Dave Grohl's earlier comments suggesting her shows weren't fully live, was framed as appreciation and gratitude, not attack mode. It's giving kill them with kindness realness, not the brutal clapback energy we're looking for based on the viral claims about her and Leavitt. Even when Swift gets direct about her feelings, she typically frames them in terms of her own experience rather than going for the jugular. Remember her classic response about writing songs about exes? While this is giving unapologetic queen energy and she's definitely standing in her power, it's still a personal statement about her own choices rather than a direct attack on someone else. It's Swift explaining her process, not Swift destroying someone with a verbal takedown. Based on these receipts showing Swift's typical public response style, the claim that she delivered a brutal clapback that destroyed Karoline Leavitt seems increasingly capped. Swift's pattern of public communication tends toward either gracious acknowledgement or mild reactions when faced with criticism, not the kind of devastating verbal assassination suggested by the viral narrative. If we look at the actual reports about the alleged debate, Swift's response afterward aligns perfectly with her established pattern. According to Daily Positive 24, Swift made an Instagram post after the debate acknowledging it as a learning experience and promising to continue her advocacy work. This reflective, growth-minded response is 100% on brand for Swift. It's giving shake it off and grow vibes, not "I just ended Karoline Leavitt's whole career" energy. So where does all this leave us with the viral claim that Taylor Swift destroyed Karoline Leavitt with a brutal clapback that had the crowd losing it? Based on our investigation, this narrative is giving major cap. The evidence suggests if the debate even happened as reported, Leavitt was widely considered the winner, serving facts and humor effectively. Swift's performance was reportedly passionate, but criticized for being underprepared. There's zero evidence of Swift delivering any brutal clapback that destroyed Leavitt. Crowd reactions supposedly favored Leavitt, not Swift, completely contradicting the claim that the crowd lost it over a Swift clapback. Swift's post-debate Instagram was reflective rather than combative, perfectly in line with how she typically handles public situations. It's worth asking why such a narrative would gain traction, despite contradicting what supposedly happened. One possibility is that it's giving wishful thinking from Swifties, reimagining an outcome where their fave slayed. Another is that it's classic internet telephone game. Someone misinterpreted or deliberately misrepresented the event for clicks and engagement. Or most likely, the entire debate never happened at all, given the complete lack of mainstream media coverage and the recent history of AI-generated fake content about Leavitt. What we can say with confidence is that Swift's documented public reactions to criticism and conflict, such as her response to being booed at the Super Bowl, don't align with the kind of brutal clap-back energy suggested by the viral narrative. Her typical style is more measured, more reflective, and less directly confrontational than what the claims about her supposed interaction with Leavitt would suggest. This disconnect between Swift's established communication patterns and the viral narrative about her supposed takedown of Leavitt gives us major red flags about the accuracy of these claims. When evaluating tea like this, it's always smart to consider whether it aligns with what we know about the people involved. And in this case, the narrative of Swift delivering a brutal clapback seems completely out of character based on her public persona. As we conclude our investigation into this viral story, it's crucial to approach such claims with critical thinking and fact-checking. Whether the debate between Leavitt and Swift actually occurred remains unclear given the limited sources reporting on it, but what does seem clear is that the narrative of Swift destroying Leavitt with a brutal clapback that had the crowd losing it is giving major fake news vibes. Instead, if we want to understand these public figures, we're better served by looking at their documented words and actions, Leavitt's direct, data-driven communication style in press briefings, and Swift's measured, reflective responses to public criticism. These authentic examples tell us far more about who these women are and how they engage with the world than unverified viral narratives ever could. The debate between Taylor and Karoline definitely gave us a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on who made the stronger case? Share them in the comments and click the cards on screen for more heated moments like this.